Tonight we have the joint facilities presentation and name, address, and title for the record. Welcome.
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 I'm Doug Maxellen from your facilities committee. I'm one of the representatives.
And I'm Donna Suzak. I'm the chair for Joint Facilities. But I just wanted to sit up here with Doug and give a little brief overview of what we've been doing and kind of give an idea of what the importance is what Doug's bringing forward to you. And also, we want everybody to understand that we are looking at things that were done before, and the mic is on. Okay, so Joint Facilities. Ed and Town Council Committee. Initially, this committee was formed in July of 2016 in response to a failure of two referendums, the performance contract and the $41 million facilities upgrade, major maintenance, and securities referendum. So this committee met, and then in November of 2016, the facilities had brought forward, with the help of Clean Energy, and we passed the performance contract. When the performance contract passed, all the work was done by that from April of 2017 to March 2018. So far, that's been a success, garnishing us savings of between $600,000 and $750,000 a year. Then bring you forward again to November of 2017, we have another failed referendum. And with that failed referendum for JFK, there was an expansion of the facilities to include four representatives from Town Council and 4 representatives from Board of Ed, and an increase in the number of citizens. And that's when Doug first started on the committee. So fast forward from there, the referendum passes in November after Facilities takes it and becomes the pre-ref committee for JFK. So this committee has done a lot of things where we've had to take failed referendums, look at them a little bit different light, and bring them to the people, and with their grace, we have passed them and we're moved along. So now we're tasked with the master plan, and it became really obvious from day one that the schools had fairly consolidated their services and how they provided everything, and the town has way too much real estate. So with that, we were tasked to hire a consultant to develop a master plan for the town buildings. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with about 40 buildings and a budget of $100,000, no one's going to look at every building for you. So this committee looked at some of the things, and Doug visited the transfer station and brought it to us that the transfer station is in need of upgrades. I think the important thing for that is that this committee says that there's certain things that we intuitively know that we are going to need, and they're probably going to stay where they are. One is the transfer station. We have a couple other buildings that we'll talk about later on. But at this point, I think I've said my spiel about how hard this committee works, and I'm going to turn it over to Doug.
All right, thank you, Donna. If everybody wasn't here, again, just to repeat, I'm Doug Maxellen. I'm part of your facilities committee, one of the members. I think we got 15 representatives, including some staff. And like Donna said, we've gone through a lot of stuff, but tonight we're just going to focus on the transfer station and some of the improvements there. It's a short PowerPoint. It's kind of a little on the high level side. It doesn't get down into the weeds too far, but once we see this, if there's questions, we can go from there. The date, I apologize for the date, because we were originally going to present this before election, and then we decided to hold off till after election in case councilors changed, which some of them indeed did. So that way everybody will get the information firsthand. So with that, I'll just go through the presentation and take any questions as we go along. Okay. Obviously, for those that don't know, the transfer station's on Town Farm Road, kind of halfway between Raffia and Abbey Road on the north side. This is an overview map, an aerial shot of it. You can see the entrance down on, well, it's on my right. I assume it's the same on that side too. You show the dog park there, and then we come up to the scale house. The scale house area is pretty much the area we're going to be talking about under this proposal we have here tonight. This is a little closer look at the scale area that we're concentrating on. This is the existing facility. You have a scale used for weighing the vehicles in and out. That's that kind of red with blue stripes on it there, you see. There's a scale house, which is really an old construction trailer that was put there for our employees to use. And then their bathroom facilities is that outhouse there next to the scale. That's the existing conditions. Across the street from that, kind of below the power lines, is where you would go and drop off your electronics and some of that type of material that doesn't actually go into the dumpsters for transfer. This is some shots of the existing conditions that are there. Again, on the top left, it's really an old construction. From what I understand, the history of it was it's an old construction trailer that was kind of handed down and put over there for our employees to use. It's really in pretty rough shape. Even the foundation underneath it, it's up on cinder blocks. It really doesn't meet any of the codes or seismic requirements or wind requirements today for the trailers. It has a power supply, as it shows down in the bottom left. Again, the outhouse, the portable outhouse, is what our employees use for their daily use of in and out. And they use that all year long, unfortunately, including through the winter and through the hot times. And the bottom right is just another shot of that same trailer kind of catching the scale, which you can see is right in front of it there. I was able to get a shot of the roof off a monitor they have there, and you can see the roof is pretty well rusted through up there. It's deteriorated pretty good. Talk to some of the employees. They do get leaks and stuff in there occasionally. So it's something that's, it's gone through its life cycle, I think. The center picture is another shot of the scale. The scale's actually good condition. It's running. It needs some maintenance, some TLC on it, but for the most part, it's in good condition and it's being used all the time. Again, like I talked earlier, behind that pickup are the boxes where the electronics, the TVs, and all that stuff go in when we drop them off there. And again, the bottom is just another close-up of that trailer that our employees use there. The trailer's not very big. It's probably about 8 feet wide and probably about 15 feet long, what they got now. No bathroom or anything inside it, no running water or anything. They use some bottled water in there. Okay. Some of the issues that we wanted to address by the Facilities Committee, again, the existing trailer's in extremely poor condition. It was a hand-me-down from an old town construction project. Trailer roof is very deteriorated. The supports kind of under the trailer are failing and need some work on them. No toilet facilities for employees working at the transfer station. We use the temporary outhouse there. It's a single weigh scale. Single weigh scale is an issue for heavy volumes times, such as weekends. There's no backup scale when problems arise on a single scale. From what I'm being told, residents are allowed to go through free when we take the scale down for maintenance or if the scale goes out on its own for service. There's no, excuse me, there's no domestic water for employees to clean up. There's only bottled water we bring in there and they use that. There's no locker, shower, or changing area for employees to change out of their dirty clothes, their dirty work clothes, or if they get contaminated on the job. No extra storage for rain gear or winter season clothing. There's no locker or anything in there. There wouldn't even be room for something like that. 3 employees pretty much share the trailer per shift. Granted, one of them is kind of out on the site, and pretty much 2 are there all the time, but then the third one comes back when he does his task out on site, and usually there's 3 of them in there. There's no place to put janitorial supplies. There's no lunch area. Employees pretty much sit outside or they sit in their car and eat lunch. No water source for fire protection. You'll see in our proposal, what we want to do is when we bring the water up is to put a hydrant up in that area so that when there is an incident, either fire or some other incident, there's water there for the fire apparatus to use. There's no camera system that covers the whole site for monitoring blind locations or after-hour monitoring of the facility. and there's really no site lighting for employee safety there to keep the area lit after hours for security reasons. Back in 14, the town had hired Fuss and O'Neill to do a design on the site here. This is one of their plans that we were able to get to use. So they pretty much designed the transfer station as we have it today. So what we did is we're building off of that. Everything pretty much north of that red square where the work is going to be for the scale house is going to stay. There's really nothing changing up that way, and that's how it runs today, except for the exiting of it. Right now, when you do your dump up there, you pretty much turn around and come back on the driveway that you came in on. There's a little better view of it with some color on it. You can see the dumpsters in the top right. Those are the green items. And the yellow is the drive area. So the drive area would be like this if this plan goes through, so that one scale would weigh you in, the other scale would weigh you out as you go through the facility. These are some ideas that we picked up from some other weigh stations in different areas, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at like this. Nothing fancy. It's really a building. They're called scale houses typically. They're either a trailer type unit or a modular type unit, or they can be stick built. But these are just a couple samples of buildings. This would be a sample of the inside where you would have a place for your electronics that does the scale weighing and so forth, and a work area for our employees that are there. Some of the stuff that we would like to include in a new facility, a new building, like I said, either modular or stick built, to facilitate public access, staff working conditions, and automated operation at 2 scales with minimal employees. We want a place where the public can come in when they want to take out their permits and do any paying or have discussions with the town employees. Right now, they pretty much have to either out their car window or stand on the scale and talk to our employees. We want something, obviously, to meet current building codes, OSHA requirements, seismic and wind requirements. We want something with a HVAC system so that it has heating and cooling properly for that particular scale house. Building to have public counter, scale control and monitor work area, restroom facilities, locker and changing area, shower for cleaning or emergency use if contaminated, janitorial storage, and a small area for lunch, a small storage area for lunch and eating area inside the trailer so that they have a proper place. Like what I mentioned earlier, when we bring the water main up from Town Farm Road, it'll be for domestic water supply in there for obviously the shower, the bathroom, and for drinking water and so forth. We'll have a sewage disposal system. There is no sewer line on Town Farm Road from what I've been told, so it'll have a small septic system up there to take care of that scale house building. There'll be a small area to accommodate public employees and equipment parking. That'll be a small paved area at the scale house. The rest of the facility, the road coming up from Town Farm, will stay gravel as it is now. There's no intent in paving that in this project here. We want to add a vehicle weigh scale. So we have 2 scales. We'll have an in and out scale, and we'll also have a backup if one's down. They could use the other one for in and out temporarily rather than let people go through at no charge. Plus, it'll help on weekends when the traffic is a lot heavier at certain times of the year. We'll have both way scales there. The other thing we're talking about is rearrange the transfer station specialty containers. Take them away from where the scale house is and put them on Fuss and O'Neill's where they show them on their plan, which is down the road on the left-hand side. So they'll have their area, they'll be out of the way to do their drop-off, and it won't interfere with the scale house area or the scales. And like I mentioned, a hydrant for water supply during fire and emergency incidents. It'll give us that up there. Now the budget. We put together a budget. I worked for Public Works with Don and Jeff and our committee, and we put together this budget that we feel is pretty good to take care of this. I'll just run through it quickly. Site work, concrete and paving, $165,000. The water main with a hydrant from Town Farm Road, 145. That's a long run down there. That's kind of why that drove that cost up a little bit. Again, a small septic system for 13. A new vehicle scale, adding the new one, is about 78,000. Move and service the existing scale, about 13. We got to kind of shift it around if we put a building in between there. And then we'll give it some service so that bring it up to its current needs. The scale house, about 52,000. Scale house building, the FF&E, that's the furniture and the fit out inside and some stuff, about 8,000. The electrical, lighting, controls, and cameras, about 24,000. An automated gate system is 20,000. That's the gate. There's currently a gate there now, but we had talked about automating it so that it's able to close and open. They can do that remotely from there. Some design and engineering to kind of pick up on Fuss and O'Neill's plan and enhance that to include the building and the added scale and stuff, about 37,000. And then we have a little contingency in there for unforeseen conditions, about 10,000. So we're about 565,000 is what we're proposing for a budget to do this project. So some of our next steps, obviously the town manager's got to be in agreement, the council, we got to get some funding. We'll contract with a designer and engineer to take the plans we got and move them forward. We'll need to get deep approval. And I think Don's had talked to some of them offline, and they're pretty much in favor of this or that way. Obviously, we'll have to get the building department and fire department approvals for what we're doing there with the building and stuff. Select our contractors and vendors, start construction, and complete the project. We put together a little schedule, a little high-level schedule. It's a month off because we shifted this meeting. But pretty much, going through what I had said previously, we're hoping to have it done in June or July if we get the funding and if it can move forward. And that's it. Questions?
Thank you, sir.
Comments?
Appreciate it. Thank you. Councilwoman Mangini, then Councilman Bosco. Go ahead.
Thank you both for the presentation. Really appreciate it. Just a couple of brief questions. Doug, you mentioned no camera system, no lunch area, and you spoke on septic and you spoke on sewer. Which is it? Is septic or sewer?
It'll be a septic system. There is no sewer in the area. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Town Farm Road doesn't have a sewer line.
Okay.
So
it'd be septic.
yeah, so we'll have a small septic for the scale house up in that area.
And the lunch area for the employees?
Be inside the scale area. The scale building will accommodate the lunch area, shower area, place they can clean up, place they can store some of their personal belongings and so forth.
And the camera system?
The camera system will be, what we were talking about is around the trailer area so that we can monitor it. It can be monitored off-site. And then looking over at the drop area where the dumpsters are in the transfer area. Really, it's probably more useful for off-hours monitoring, so for vandalism and so forth, than it is for on-hours because you have employees there.
So is this budget amount sufficient to handle?
Yeah, we think it is. We went through it. We worked with Don and Jeff at Public Works and our committee, and we feel it's sufficient to do this. Again, we're not looking to build a Taj Mahal there or nothing. We just want to improve what's there, go with the second scale, and improve the kind of the working conditions there.
Now, at what time frame do you need direction from council?
Well, if I can get it tonight, it'd be great, but I know that's not possible. So as soon as we can, through the town manager, our first step would be to get the engineer back on board and solidify the plans and stuff like that, and then move through based on that schedule that I showed here, pretty much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilman Bosco.
Well, I think it's time that we have to do something for them employees down there at the transfer station. But I am still, and I always will be, against that second scale.
Okay.
I think there's, it's not a ton of money, but, everything adds up. And for the amount of times we need that second scale, I think we could do things a little more wisely. And I don't and I could be wrong, but I don't see a reason that we need to weigh leaves every vehicle that comes in. And we grind them up, we sell them, and we weigh them when they leave. So why do we have to weigh them coming in? And then weigh them again when we leave, when we could just probably weigh them when they leave? And if you did that, that would take care of all our congestion at the dump. And I don't know how often, and I'd like to know how often that scale breaks, but we're going to go refurbish it anyway because you got money in there for it. The amount of times that it breaks where we let someone go in, how much money are we really losing? You know, again, I understand, but you got $78,000 for the scale, but that doesn't count how much money it costs to bring the road to the scale, and how much money it does for site improvements to put the scale in. So, you know, that 78,000 realistically could be 100 grand. And, you know, we need to get the employees a safe, clean place to go. I just don't see that scale at this time is really something we really need. And, you know, we're going to have a tough budget. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers. We have to find this money. So I support the issue, maybe not to the extent you have. That we could talk about, but the scale, I just like to see if there's a different way of doing it, and I guess that probably could save 100 grand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to clarify that the foundation and everything for the new scale is in that budget also, so there wouldn't be added costs.
Well, no, but you got to put a driveway in, you got to put a road in.
That's all incorporated in this to accommodate that second scale. You know,
That's counting the blacktop going to the scale and the blacktop leaving the scale and all the site work
yes.
to put the scale in?
Yeah, this budget covers that around that scale house correctly. Yeah, but I hear your point.
And not that I'm doubting you, Doug, but I would really have to see the numbers on that, because usually they'll have the scale and they'll figure out, you know, the wiring of the scale and the foundation for the scale, but they don't put the blacktop and all the other stuff to come in and out of the scale in the same price of the scale.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Ungary?
I was just curious, does the current scale house have air conditioning for the employees?
I think it has a small air conditioning
The
unit,
little window unit?
type wall unit. Yeah, in
Okay.
it's like a construction trailer type unit.
Deputy Mayor Suzak?
I guess what I would like everybody to understand, that the reason we're bringing this forward is, number one, it's something that needs to be done. Number two, it's under the referendum limit, so it's something that we can be looking at at budgetary times. We'd like to kind of get a blessing to move forward with the design before that. The other thing is, I don't know if everybody captured the fact that this was done in 2014. And I think that this council, and particularly this committee, have done a lot to rejuvenate things that need to be looked at. And we need to look at all the things that we need to do on a yearly basis. Because in 14, we decided not to do this. We should have looked at it in 15, 16, 17, 18, but we are looking at it in 19. And I thank Doug for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anyone else? My only question, Doug, first of all, thank you. So with the second scale, is the Public Works done any analysis on the possibility of improving service times? So I get the idea for the second scale, but I mean, I know when we get close to 3 o'clock on a Saturday, I heard from a lot of people when they cut it off, you know, obviously that makes a lot of people upset. But hopefully maybe we've done, and maybe it's more of a question for the Public Works, if we've actually taken a look at our improved, you know, service times. As you know, if say it takes on average on a Saturday when it's busy an hour to get in, I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yep.
To get through, if we have a second scale, it's down to a half hour. I don't know if we've looked at that or not.
We haven't, as our facilities committee. No, we haven't. You know, I'm not sure if Public Works as operations have looked at it different
Right,
ways and stuff
right.
like that. Right.
Yeah, I know Donald, at some point, that'd be something maybe we could talk to. I mean, I think that'd be key to kind of, to Joey's point, if we're going to spend 100 grand or whatever it is on another scale. If we improve service, there's some justification for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Would it take another employee if you had two scales? So are we talking about, you know, having another employee working?
From what I understand, no, it wouldn't.
Okay.
Chris.
And this is a concept I would like to thank the Facilities Committee for all of their hard work and acknowledge that, bringing this to us. And I think it is fortunate, Donna, that at least they did the plan in 2014, so we have a baseline to proceed from. But I will tell you, this can't be looked at alone.
Right.
The town attorney's office is currently looking at the recommended changes from the solid waste ordinance. Hasn't been revised in 20 years. There are state statutory changes that have been mandated that we have not incorporated. So that's kind of a usage and you know, the ABCs of it. But also we've got to look at, and I've had this discussion with Mr. Nunes over the last year, that a lot of our other policies, procedures, permitting, and costs of the landfill are woefully ancient. They're as ancient as the pictures of the equipment. We're not collecting the revenue stream. Now, I'm not going to say it would pay for this, but over time it would. And it's a significant amount of money that we haven't looked at. And while we don't want to have increases, what we're doing compared to surrounding communities, we're not capturing the revenue that we should to justify and to be able to pay for the infrastructure that we need to maintain going forward. And there's no dispute. Anybody who's been there, everybody from the town, the pictures you've looked at, I think most of this equipment had reached its life expectancy when they put it into service 20 years ago. It not only is a bit of a embarrassment, but it also does pose, you know, challenges to our employees who are out there. It's not acceptable. When you go out there and look at it for a town of our size and the services that we offer, I've looked and talked to Donald and gone in the area. I've never seen a situation that is as dire as this one. So we have to address it, but I think that we also are going to look at these other areas, and much as we did with fuel usage, unfortunately, we are way behind the times in terms of decades on what we're charging and the permitting and what we're allowing to go on out there. So we could capture a lot of revenue that would not only help pay for this, but sustain it going forward. So we'll be bringing that forward too.
Deputy Mayor Suzak.
Doug, could you go back to the fee for the design? Because I'm thinking that at this point, it would be nice if the council maybe had a consensus that we might bring to the table a design that perhaps incorporates, you know, the question of, do we need the second scale? And how can we get this design such that we can move it forward into the next budget? So
Yeah, if you look at item 10 on there, that's
Design-
their design and engineering fee. It was the $37,000 that we were looking
So
at. Again, for this area, you know, if we're going to span the scope, like, you know, if we needed to for some other reasons, obviously that would change, but.
Right, but I think at this point, what we need is this council to decide that this is something that is important, you know, to us. And I'll tell you, I mean, there's no handicapped accessibility there. There's nothing there. I mean, it really is.
Even if we have to do it so we can fund it over multiple years.
Correct. Right.
We need to at least find out the information.
Right, but I think at this point, I think it would be nice if we could, you know, at least get to the design stage so that we could bring it forward. At budget deliberations, we always throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks.
Well, what we could do, knowing the cost of design and engineering, we can look in Public Works to see what money's available, bring that forward to the next agenda.
Right.
So at least we could look to take the 2014 plan and update it, get input in the subcommittee as to the scale. Donald does have opinions about the leaves and the second scale. We can bring all that, and that way we'll know the cost to go forward. We can then have a consensus on what we really want to have out there. We'll get a price, and then it's a perfect timing because we will be then entering the budget for next year, and we can decide if we want to do it and how we want to finance it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much,
Okay.
sir. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.